Hi, I'm back, and here's to you. I got a lot of nice comments from everybody, which, of course, I do like to be the center of attention, so it's nice when anybody actually pays attention to me. And I hope that everybody is well. I know that right now this is not that easy, and I know that some people are getting nervous about not being able to go anyplace, and guess what? That includes me. But anyway, I have another story to tell. And today, this one is called Tante Klara. Tante is a German word and it means auntie. Klara is a woman's name. The place where we lived, just on the corner from us, was a very large nursery. And I walked by there every morning, and that was sort of a larger lane that it was on, and then I would turn right to go to school. So twice a day, I would see this nursery, and I just adored it. There were rows and rows of flowers everywhere. There was a huge greenhouse and a very large house built out of stones, which was unusual because in that area where we lived, people were only allowed to have a little place where they could keep their tools. But after the war, for people like us who didn't have any place to live, we were allowed to lease this garden plot for 99 years, and we were allowed to build a little house. But ours was a tiny cottage. This place was huge. Well, one day after I had come home and I'd done my homework and the little cottage was clean and I looked in the garden, there was nothing to do, and I thought, I think I'll go down there to the nursery. So I went to the nursery and I walked up to the house, and there was a doorbell. I rang the doorbell and this lady came out, and I liked her immediately. She was rather plump, you might want to say. She had these enormous boobs. She had on a really pretty dress, a long dress, a full skirt, had a lot of little flowers on it. She had a really big apron, and she had like boots on like I'd never seen before, but they were green, and I thought that they looked like boys' boots. What did I know? And in her apron, she seemed to have some seed packets, and then on the other side, she had like a little shovel or something. Her hands were very rough, and her nails were like all broken off, and she had an enormous smile and this big tousled hairdo with all these big curls. And she said, "Oh, hi, who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I live just 3 houses down." And she said, "Well, there aren't any houses." I said, "Well, no, I know, you know the gardens." And she said, "Oh, then I know who you are. You're that little girl that has the fox." And I said, "Really? You know about that?" And she said, "Oh, everybody knows about the little Hungarian girl that has a fox." I said, "Well, I didn't know that. That's pretty neat." And she said, "So how come you came to see me?" And I said, "Well, my mama's gone all the time. She works." And she said, "Yeah, I can see you're a Schlüsselkind." A Schlüsselkind were children like me who would come home to an empty house, and they had a rope around their neck with the house key. And she said, "So where's your dad?" And I said, "Well, he works like at night and he's sleeping." And she said, "But don't you also have a grandma living there?" And I said, "Yes, Grandma, she's sort of busy. She leaves like every afternoon. I don't really know where she goes." And this lady just started laughing, and she said, "It's okay. I get it. I know what she does, and I don't want to talk to you about that." And she said, "Oh, by the way, my name is Klara." And I said, "Well, do you live here?" And she said, "Yes. This nursery belongs to my husband and to myself." And she said, "So what do you want to get?" And I said, "Oh, I can't buy anything. I don't have any money. But I keep walking by here and I see you, and you're always working so hard, and it doesn't really look like you have anybody helping you. So I was just wondering, Could I possibly help you? Because I have nothing else to do now. My homework is done. You know, like I said, everything is clean. I cooked for my papa, and my mother doesn't come home until it's dark. So I was just wondering, I could do anything. I could sweep your kitchen if you want, or I know how to do dishes, and my mother taught me how to sew, and I know how to sew on buttons, and I iron. But what I would really like to do is help you in the garden, because I really, really like flowers. And she said, that's it, you're hired. You can, when do you want to start? And I said, oh, how about today? And she said, okay, come on in. So she brought me in and she said, first of all, you should have a glass of milk and a cookie, because I can't believe that you just come in here and you want to help me. But she said, what I would like you to do is go in the greenhouse, I'll show you how to do it, and transplant these little plants into little pots. You have to be really careful when you take them out, but your little fingers would be perfect. But she said, you know what? I'm going to tell you a secret. I have chickens. I said, really? Real chickens? She said, yes. And what I would like, she said, I don't really like cleaning out their little nests and their chicken run and the whole chicken coop, because it's sort of smelly. But their poop is really good fertilizer. So I would like you to actually clean that up and put it in a bucket, and then I'll show you how we put it in the compost heap. And I said, oh yeah, I can do all of that. And I'm really good at stuff like that. My mother always says that my little girl can take direction. So if you show me what to do, I would be happy to do it. So that's how I started my relationship with Tante Klara. I loved this lady. She was a very, very sweet person. She didn't have any children. She did have a husband, but, well, I'm not going to talk about him now. I'll tell you about him later. She started to invite me to come over early on Saturday morning so I could have breakfast with them. So, oh my God, every Saturday morning I had a soft-boiled egg. And I would call it a tick eye. It's just egg, but eye is egg, but I called it a tick eye because then when you hit it with your knife, it sort of makes this little sound. So after I'd been working for her, I think it was almost a month, she said, okay, we got to talk about this. What would you like? Because you can't just keep coming here and you work for me. I have to give you something. And I said, oh, you know what? I really like purple flowers. Could I please have some purple flowers? And she said, yes. She said, I will give you a dahlia that's purple, and you can start to grow those. And she said, I'll give you some seeds for some purple flowers. But she said, you've been doing such a good job. I'm going to go in the chicken coop with you, and you can take 2 eggs. I said, you're kidding. Just for me? She said, yes. And I said, can I have the brown ones? I like the brown ones better. She said, yeah, that's funny. I do too. And she said, okay, come on, let's go out. So my mother had made me an apron that had pockets in it. And when I would go to Klara to work, I always wore my little apron. So I had 2 eggs in there, and oh my God, I walked home and I felt like, this is absolutely incredible. Wait till I tell my mother and my dad I have eggs. So I didn't tell them though, I said nothing. But Sunday morning, I said to my mother, oh, I'm just wondering, who might like to have a soft-boiled egg today? And my mother said, but we don't have any eggs. I didn't have enough money to buy eggs. And I said, well, I have a surprise. And I walked in the kitchen and I came back with 1 brown egg in each hand. And she said, what? What is this? Where did you get these eggs? And I said, well, I have a job. And she looked at me, she said, what do you mean you have a job? I said, I work for Tante Klara. She said, who's Tante Klara? I said, Klara Science, the lady that has the big nursery. I started working for her almost a month ago, and that's why I have flowers in my little garden. She said, you do? And I said, yeah, come here, I'll show you. I said, see this? It's only about this big, but it'll grow as tall as me. It's a purple dahlia. She said, well, where did you get that? I said, well, I get paid with plants. She gives me plants. I was allowed to take some spinach seed the other day, and I said, come here, let me show you. See that? That's going to be spinach. My mother just said, I can't believe this. That is just amazing. So is that what you do every day? And I said, yeah, because everything is done here and I didn't have anything else to do. And Papa goes to bed because he has to get up real early. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working there. Well, all went well. I had a wonderful time. I kept working for her and she kept giving me more and more plants. And then one day she said, I want to talk to your parents. So this weekend, ask them if they can both come up. I'll invite them for coffee and cake. You can help me bake a cake on Saturday, and then we'll have it Sunday afternoon. Great. So there we go. My parents went with me, and so did my grandmother. She was also invited. And I had helped Klara set the table. We actually put a nice tablecloth. And I said, can I go out and get flowers for the table? She said, of course. And it was really pretty. It had napkins and, silverware, she said, use all the good stuff from the dining room because she said, we never use it. So anyway, we had this beautiful cake and here were my parents and my grandma and her husband was there. I wasn't really afraid of him, but I didn't like him. He always smelled like, I don't know what it was, but it was a smell I didn't like. And he was always sort of chewing on a cigar, and then he would smoke it, and then he'd chew on it, and then he'd turn around and he'd go, and I thought, oh my God, this is so weird. But anyway, we were all sitting there, and then Klara said, okay, I hope you're not going to get upset about what I'm about to say, but my husband and I have talked about this. We don't have children. And we know that you love your little girl very, very much. But we also know that you are very poor. We know that you don't always have food to eat because I ask her. And we have decided that, we have this wonderful nursery. We have nobody to leave it to. Excuse me for a moment. Oh, that's better. And we really love your little girl. And what we would like to do, we would like to adopt her. Because we have money, we have a big house, and we have this business. And we hope that you don't get upset about this, but we could give her a lot of things that you couldn't. I thought my father was gonna go through the roof. Oh my God. I had never seen a reaction like this. He literally turned bright red. Like he was gonna explode. Then I could see my mother reach over and hold his hand and said, it's okay, don't get so upset. They mean well. They really, really do. And what they said is true. We are poor. We don't have enough money. But, just don't get so upset. My dad he couldn't even say anything. He reached in his pocket. He smoked cigarettes. He lit a cigarette and he walked outside. And I could only hear things. He was throwing stuff out there. And my mother said, oh, I'm so sorry, but you just don't understand. He loves Aranka more than anything in the world. And I understand what you're saying. And I agree with you. We are poor, but we couldn't let her go. And she might have a better life with you. I don't know, but we love this little girl. And my grandmother wasn't even speaking German. She was so pissed off. She was like just rattling on. I have no idea what she said. And Klara got very emotional about it. And she said, well, I understand that you can't do that, but we'll try to feed her and let her eat with us more often. And I really hope that you understand why we did this. And my mother she just started crying. I worked for Klara until I was 15 when I ran away from home. One of the reasons why I ran away from home, I had several, but one of the reasons was her husband. But that's another story someday. So this is my story for today. Thank you for listening and watching, and toodaloo.